everybody, it's Brittany. So, I want to go over this idea today of only including things in a case analysis that are perceptible to the senses. This is a concept out of aphorism 6 in Hahnemann's Organon, and his essay, The Medical Observer, which is sort of like a continuation of aphorism 6. It takes the ideas of aphorism 6 and just expands them. He goes into a lot more detail in The Medical Observer. So, to me, homeopathy has sort of a very specific order. You take a case, and then from that case you take out your symptom list, so the list of things that your remedy has to cover, and then you go see which remedies cover those symptoms. Once you find the remedies that are close, you select the one that is most similar to your symptom list. Now, the symptom list to me is probably like, I mean, your case taking is important too, but like, if your symptom list is effed, everything else is going to be effed. Okay? Basically. So, if you, for example, real example that I saw when I was a student, if you decide somebody needs grounding, and that's on your symptom list, you are going to be looking for a remedy that needs grounding, right? Your symptom list directly changes what remedies you're looking at and why you would select a remedy. If, instead of saying they need grounding, you said, like, their answers were meandering and their voice was high, you were going to be looking for remedies that have meandering answers and high voices. That's very, very different information, and you're going to come up with very, very different remedies, okay? So, to me, like, there is nothing more important than getting that symptom list exactly correct, and as factual and concise and absolutely accurate as possible. Like, to me, that's the most important part of my job when I see somebody. You may not agree with me, but that's how I see it. So, I'm getting myself worked up. I have to breathe. The importance of making sure that that symptom list only contains symptoms that are perceptible to the senses is because I think it makes us much less susceptible to our biases. So, if you are somebody who, I don't know, I hate coming up with examples of someone with a horrible bias, but let's say you hate people with blonde hair, and somebody with blonde hair comes in. Now, it is likely that that is going to affect the way you take a case and your symptom list. But if you stick to things that are perceptible to the senses, things that you can hear, things that you can see, things you can touch, smell, hopefully you don't have to smell your symptoms because that would be pretty gross. But like, if someone comes in smelling weird or having really bad breath, then, I mean, you know, it's a great symptom. It's unfortunate, but it's a great symptom. Then you are much less likely to really screw up despite the fact that you have this massive bias against people with blonde hair, right? Because you're sticking to the facts as much as you possibly can. And to me, this is also really the point of the Medical Observer, is really the Medical Observer is going over how can we get better at removing our bias from a case-taking perspective and from a case analysis perspective, and his point is really how difficult it is, how much we need to practice, but also how vital it is. And yeah, like, you know, I think if you want to make sure that you are really good at taking a case, you need to stick to things that are factual and perceptible to the senses. So symptoms that are perceptible to the senses, those are things you can see, you can hear, you can touch, you know, but it's also stuff that the patient can see, hear, feel, touch, smell, taste, you know, any of that. And you need to take them at their word. Now, I do think, of course, this gets to be a little bit difficult when we're talking about mental and emotional symptoms, because, I mean, anything that's subjective, it's a little bit difficult. Think about somebody who's a hypochondriac. Right? They come in, they tell you this hurts, that hurts, everything's wrong with me. I mean, you have to be able to step back and see that really the symptom that's looking at you in the face is not that pain, this pain, this pain, that pain, this pain, that sensation that happened once at 2 a.m. You know, it's the symptom is actually that they're a hypochondriac. Right? And so I think like that's where it gets really, really fuzzy, and we have to be really, really careful, because I think that's also where our bias really can wreak havoc. You know, if you have someone who's coming in, so back to our hates blondes example, if you were someone who's coming in, someone comes in, they have blonde hair, you hate blondes, and they're telling you they're in a ton of pain, you know, if you take that they're being a hypochondriac as a symptom instead of the fact that they're in a lot of pain, and really it's just that they're in a lot of pain, they're not a hypochondriac, you're going to be barking up the wrong tree, and it's because of your bias. And so I really think, like, there's a lot of gray area here, and there's a lot of place for mischief, but if we can do everything we can to limit that mischief and really stick to the things we know are absolutely factual, I think we'll be a lot better in the long run. As a quick side note, I also think this is why I like, I use the TBR2 in practice. George Demetriadis' version of Bunninghausen's therapeutic pocketbook. And there's like, I don't know, like 8 mind symptoms, and this is why I like that. A lot of people are like, oh my god, there's so few mind symptoms. I'm like, exactly. Because I don't have space to make too much of a mistake. Because if somebody comes in and they are anxious, all I have to do is say they're anxious, and it's not that huge of a rubric. If you don't know what a rubric is, just ignore this part. But, yeah. If you go into the other repertories and somebody comes in and they're anxious, I have to decide what kind of anxiety, because there's 200 anxiety rubrics and I don't know which one to choose, and if I just choose anxiety, I've got 500 remedies and it's like useless. So this is why I like the TBR2. I think it keeps me out of mischief, which, as you might be able to tell from this video, I really don't like mischief. I like facts. I like knowing that what's on my symptom list is exactly what's going on. That I haven't added any of myself in there. I haven't forgotten anything. I haven't added anything extra. It's just exactly what the patient is experiencing. No funny business. I hope that was helpful. Okay. Till next time. Bye.